Once upon a time, there was a man who died. The man's work was the writing and telling of stories.
Number 5, Princess Tutu, a fairy tale of the struggle between a pure-hearted prince and a crafty raven that is abruptly ended when its author passes away, and his ghost works as ethereal powers to bring the story to life and continue it through to the end, employing the help of a little duck to play his new heroine, the valiant Princess Tutu. Now, this is the best children's anime ever made, bar none. This is random, but does anyone else get the mental image of a Mother Superior in a tavern when they hear bar none? I apologize. Back on topic, Princess Tutu achieves what Digimon Tamers couldn't quite, the Herculean task of making a series that works well for children and adults. It's dark, metafictional on multiple levels, but still pure and inspiring, and simple enough for a child to understand and an adult to be entranced by. This is a Pixar-quality story with Fantasia sensibilities. Why Fantasia? Because this is not just an animated fairy tale, it's an animated ballet, and music and dance tell large portions of the story alongside the dialogue. This and Ouran were my first fan requests when I started reviewing, back when I could fill every request actually sent to me, good times, and while I had seen Ouran, I had not seen this, and I am forever grateful to that YouTuber for asking about it. I watched it through with my sister, and we were jumping up and down like howler monkeys, all weepy and squealy by the end. One of the best endings I've ever seen in an anime series. If Utena is art, then this is, I don't know, art junior, I guess. It too takes classical fairy tale tropes, exposes them, brings them into reality, and has its own characters battle against the scribbling pen that writes their fates. The author, Drosselmeyer, and yes, that's another reference, is a tragedian, you see. And these characters are also lovable and unique that you're struggling right along with them to defy a miserable ending. We at the D2 Brigade often say, real men watch Princess Tutu, and while I'm not sure it's not too girly for some guys, there is something to love here on many levels. There's the wide berth of classical music and how it's employed, the whimsy of the talking animals and fairy tale magic, the somber messages that come through in the story's myriad darkest nights, and just the fact that someone worked this hard on an original story packed with emotion and depth for children. That's what really makes me happy. It's now my sister's favorite anime and my number 5.
They say there's no such place as paradise. Even if you search to the ends of the earth, there's nothing there. No matter how far you walk, it's always the same road. It just goes on and on. But in spite of that, why am I so driven to find it?
Number 4, Wolf's Reign. The tale of a divine white wolf and his companions' search for paradise in a post-apocalyptic world that no longer believes they exist, as the winter closes in and the cities freeze over. I love this anime because it and my number 2 pick are the stories I wish I could write. Now, Wolf's Reign is excellent. Really it is. I still hold it to be one of the best anime ever made if we're doing a best 100 or something. I'm sure it's on there somewhere. But I'm not sure anyone else likes it nearly as much as I do. It's well known and well thought of, but not on very many top favorites lists. I am biased toward this story, you see, because it covers all my favorite themes in fiction, along with constructing its own unique fantasy world just a little unlike anything I've ever seen before. In fact, I think that element is universal across my top 5. Everyone's heard the idea that we only learn who we really are when the world is coming down around our ears, and Wolf's Reign illustrates this literally. Using an animal, and these are not anthropomorphized critters despite the Jedi mind trick you see here, they act like wolves and are used to illustrate some incredibly deep points about humanity instead. But you really have to be paying attention. Wolf's Reign comes across as cold and confusing, but really, it's so passionate about its message but holds its cards so close to its chest they catch fire, and it's a challenging little fantasy to interpret. I also bought it during my buy everything I can afford phase, along with Beck, and I did so for a silly reason. Wolves are my favorite animals. I love them, I love them, I love them. And this had hot, sexy, beashy wolves in it, which is a good idea in theory, but just really confuses my inner fangirl, come to think of it. Like most people, because of its harsh presentation, I meandered in watching it all the way through, but as it went on, I picked up on the spiritual analog it was drawing and ate it up, marathoning it deep into the night and sitting in stunned silence at the conclusion at 6 in the morning, minutes before I had to leave for school. I was so starry-eyed and contemplative, I think I may have run into things when I got off the bus. I was determined to rewatch it until I picked up on all the symbolism and subtext this near masterpiece had to offer, and now I have it memorized. Along with my following top 3 choices, I should add. I guess this is just an expressly personal thing, but if I ever do an in-betweens on the series, I can articulate it to the confused in my viewing audience and justify all those enthralled rewatches. Nah, as if they needed justification. I love Wolf's Rain and find it firmly at number 4.
It's all a dream.
Yeah. Just a dream.
Number 3, Cowboy Bebop, the ongoing adventures of a rogue pack of bounty hunters as they explore the solar system looking for a quick cash-in and a decent meal, told through various musical and film styles, from the terse shootouts to the goofy escapades to the somber, forgotten story of Spike and his lost love Julia that holds it all together. Cowboy Bebop is one of the most popular and respected anime series in existence in the West, right up there with Miyazaki movies and Ghost in the Shell. If you haven't seen it yet, you don't know! No, I'm just kidding. Sit down, and I apologize for that impression. I won't do it again. I think you could call this series overrated just based on how super popular it is, but it's hard to call a work so self-assured, so masterfully done, and so unique in its derivativeness truly overrated. Is it overrated if it deserves all the attention that it gets? I don't know. All the same, I think I love Bebop for slightly different reasons than most people. I do love it for how filmic it is in both silly episodes and serious ones, for the incredible quality of the animation, for the near perfection of the dub in a time when most dubs flat out sucked, for the eclectic soundtrack. I mean, there are reasons most people love it. Also, like most people my age, this was one of my first anime. I had heard going into it that it was the best thing ever, and I even knew how it ended, which kind of sucks, but who doesn't know how it ends? And I was still blown away. The sequence in Ballad for Fallen Angels where Spike fights Vicious and plummets from the cathedral window to the sounds of Greenbird is my single favorite little moment in all anime. I mean, that's my favorite scene ever, because it's shot so gorgeously, the music is a really bizarre choice but also perfect, and it conveys pretty much everything we ever learn about Spike and a surprising amount about his relationship with Vicious through 5 lines of dialogue and just a musical montage. That's finesse right there. So I too love Bebop because of how cool it is, but the thing that really pushes Bebop onto the top for me is that it's not just style, not just a revel in pop culture and technique like people assume. Bebop is also surprisingly subtle and has a lot of substance behind it. Many even compare Bebop to Tarantino, which I never, ever saw. No, Baccano is like Tarantino maybe, but Bebop doesn't have a true equivalent that I've seen yet. But the one thing it always most reminded me of was a Steinbeck novel, in its themes and portrayal of human nature, what we need, what we want, and what we often mistakenly walk away from. Through all their mistakes and hardships, people will persevere until they no longer have a reason to, and just stop living. Either literally or sometimes just figuratively. And sessions like Jupiter Jazz, Sympathy for the Devil, and of course, The Real Folk Blues, illustrate this very well. And then there's the one where the crew of the Bebop gets high on shrooms. It's a give and take, but the free range of Bebop's tone that never feels forced or inappropriate is another huge part of its charm, a work strong enough to stand at number 3 on this list.
That droopy-eyed, cocky, upside-down-haired, women-chasing lunatic who's nuts for donuts and gorges them like a starved hog in heat, you honestly think it's him?
Number 2, Trigun, a western shoot-'em-up starring a pacifistic outlaw and his companions, a pair of quirky insurance reps, and a trigger-happy preacher man, as they make their way across an alien desert in search of the man who ruined Vash's life and threatens humanity's lingering existence. As I may have brought across in my review of this series, compared to the other stuff on my favorites list in pure, objective quality if such a thing exists, it's not nearly as good as its surrounding brethren. Not even close. But what saves it for me, despite its myriad flaws, skippy budget, and bizarre tonal shift, is it has one of the strongest beating hearts of any story I've run across, and some of the most striking characters. Again, this is the kind of story I wish I could write. In the middle, yes, the tonal shift and unexplained plot curveballs are just discomforting, but the comedy, when it's in full flux, is terrifically funny, shameless, and carefree, and the darker moments at their strongest are heartbreaking and edge-of-your-seat shockers. Trigun is absurdly popular in the States for good reason, and I certainly don't have to defend its staying power. Past that, its place at number 2 is entirely personal. This was again one of my first anime, true, but it's the only thing I've ever watched, the only piece of entertainment that actually changed the way I think or believe about something. See, I was really into violent American stuff like Stallone and Tom Clancy-based movies in middle school. Peace was something of a bad word to me, and I thought of pacifists as weenies with no principles. I grew up in Southern Kentucky, folks, Southern Kentucky. After seeing Trigun, well, anyone who knows anything about Vash can tell you he makes his life story an exercise in how passionate and strong you have to be to back down from a fight, but more importantly, put others' lives ahead of your own. I swear, after I saw Trigun, I completely lost interest in most ballsy action movies, or at least just sought out more complex films from then on, and put less stock in the Hollywood cliché. I could still enjoy it, but I actually wanted more at that point. Another completely personal relation I have with this series is my honestly disconcerting observation at how steeply based the themes were in Christianity. I don't mean surface symbols like Wolfwood being a clergyman or whatever, I mean the deeper themes themselves were unmistakably Christian in nature, and this weirded me out because I had no idea why, and was worried I was making it up because of my own background. I did not find out until a couple months ago that the author really is Catholic Christian. He was Buddhist growing up and wrote Trigun shortly after converting. Christian film, what exists of it, is a steaming refuse pile, so I'll take great reflections of my belief system in popular media wherever I can get them, thank you. I know more useless trivia and background information on Trigun than any other anime series. And this is embarrassing, but I have treatments and scripts and write-ups for a potential Trigun movie, or 3. If that .001 chance that I ever make it in film ever comes true, you can bet I'll be trying to get that made. Be afraid and all that. The Trigun has a veritable fortress, therefore, over my number 2 spot.
Humankind cannot gain anything without first giving something in return. To obtain, something of equal value must be lost. That is alchemy's first law of equivalent exchange. In those days, we really believed that to be the world's one and only truth.
Number 1, Full Metal Alchemist. The story of 2 alchemist brothers who commit a great taboo in attempting to raise their mother from the dead, and join the military in their effort to make things right and repair their bodies, which were shattered by the event. They are, of course, drawn into something much larger than either of them ever wanted. Anyone who's talked to me much at all knows this is my number 1, so sorry if that killed all the tension leading into this and whatnot. Everyone has also already seen this juggernaut of an anime, so I'm mostly going to just talk about my personal experience with it here and why I adore it. I sound like a broken record, but this was also one of my very first anime. I saw it during its first run on Adult Swim, but did not start with the first episode. I heard about it from a few friends kinda late, and the first episode I saw was Night of the Chimera's Cry. Yeah, the Nina Tucker story. Alone, at midnight, in the middle of nowhere. I was a sensitive kid, and I did not sleep too good that night, but I was so rocked by the story that I taped the show every week after, a task made difficult by the fact that my parents hated and kind of forbade anime, so any episodes that I missed, I had to look up on school computers, which were slow, but I had dial-up at home that barely ever started, so I bit the bullet and just got in trouble multiple times for doing it, because I wanted to see what happened. I eventually bought the DVD singles from eBay much later when they all came out, for $150 all at once. Most of what I had, and I got in trouble for that too. By this time you probably think I was a really stupid kid, and I was, but after I had those DVDs, I got awfully popular. I passed them around to friends and ended up making more friends in the process. No one bought anime DVDs, I guess, despite the fact anime was kind of popular. And within a short time, I had become the Full Metal Netflix. No, really, that was coined, and not by me, in regard to the situation. And I met a lot of friends by sharing the series with them. I have now shared Full Metal Alchemist with upwards of 60 people.